Iran strikes back. Iran has retaliated for the attacks that Israel has put upon it within basically the same day. As you know, Israel launched devastating attacks on Iran, which we'll go more into after I describe this in much more detail. And my friends, Israel was hit by successive waves of starting with drones and then missiles from Iran, each measuring in the hundreds, not the thousands as you might have would expect it, but they still did a fair bit of damage in Israel. In fact, it's been said that 63 Israelis were injured and one has ceased to survive. Let me show you this article real quick, a couple articles on this, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Because people think I'm making stuff up lately. I've been accused of false news, uh, fake news. Well, take it as you will. The Israelis surely don't want to admit, they usually downplay the damage that they've received, from an attack. So you can pretty much take it to the bank. This probably happened. The Iranian rocket falls on Tel Aviv in latest barrage, and at least 63 wounded. And one lady didn't make it. So, and you can see from that's from the Israeli news. This is from the Iranian news, talking about the wave of missile strikes, striking chaos, and what they refer to as the Zionist entity. So, there the reports are. I'm going to stop the share, and we're going to talk about this. All right, my friends. This is no, this is not a laughing matter. This is serious. And it's quite foreboding what may be coming out of all this. But now these launches, first it was drones. A lot of the drones flew over Jordan, and actually the Jordanian forces and probably Qatar, which we really don't pronounce that nation right in our language, Qatar, Qatari, whatever you try to say, you're not going to get it right unless you're Arabic. I got an Arabic friend from there, and he would pronounce it for me. And after a lot of practice, I might kind of get it close, but I don't even remember how to do that now. So, so never mind, guys. Good thing is they were on the side of Iran, and they seem to have flipped thanks to Trump's negotiations and having gone there. And they even gave Trump a plane. Well, they actually shot down some of the Iranian drones that were going toward Israel. Imagine that. They had been on the side of Iran. And a lot of them were taken down in Jordan. Now, Jordan claimed officially that they were just taking down the ones they thought might fall into their airspace. But, Jordan's got, have some deniability for a lot of their population, which, they got a lot of Palestinian refugees living in Jordan. And so the king of Jordan, Hashemite king of Jordan, does not want to upset this population living within his borders. So he kind of plays it down what he does in this regard. But nonetheless, they took out drones, and maybe I don't think they got capable to take out the missiles, but a lot of missiles were in fact taken out by Israeli forces, and even the United States. Trump said the United States to assist Israel in taking down a lot of the missiles coming in. Still, not all those intercepts were successful. As you can see, at least one got through in Tel Aviv and did a lot of damage, hurt a lot of people, and one is no longer with us as a result of that. But that pales compared to what Israel did to Iran. I mean, it really pales. So Iran said that they would, strike back in kind. Well, they haven't reached that yet, and we don't even know if they can. They might can, but their military leadership was decimated. A lot of their missile launchers were hit. A lot of their command and control was hit. A lot of their radars, especially all their surface-to-air radars and missiles, a lot of that was taken out. Now, we do know they got a lot of stuff in underground bunkers, and these underground bunkers are pretty much unreachable, although their entrances may be hit. Israel has talked about hitting some of these. They can't really penetrate, so they might have been hitting entrances, the buildings around them. They hit some nuclear power plants. So we'll kind of talk through that a little bit and talk about what they did. But the key thing is, see, when the people look at Israel and they look at Iran, Iran's got a whole lot more people, a whole lot more land mass. It's a much bigger country. It's got a huge military. It's got all these things going. Well, you know what? We observed the same kind of things with Hezbollah. And guess what? Hezbollah did not come out so well. Hamas has not turned out so well. Everybody, except the Houthis, that seem to go against Israel, just they get devastated. They get devastated. The Houthis, wow, they're a whole class of their own. But the here's what it really boils down to. Brawn versus brain. Brain wins. If brain wasn't the winner, gorillas would rule the earth. So here's the matter: is we got no strength compared to a gorilla. A gorilla could rip us apart. A chimpanzee could rip us apart. But we got the brains. We rule the earth. And Israel has the Mossad, and oh my gosh, they've got intel like nobody. The Mossad has intel, and they use it, and they have pulled off whether you agree with it or not, their surprise was masterful. What they pulled on Iran was beyond belief. How they tricked Iran into thinking that everything was okay. Just lay down and rest your pretty little head. There's nothing to worry about. Was just beyond description. So we'll talk about that. So let's talk about that a little. What did Israel do that so made Iran relaxed? Well, for one, there was the whole thing going on where Donald John Trump was telling Israel not to attack while we're negotiating. There was still a negotiation coming up this weekend. So that was part of it. But the bigger one is, in fact, the Israelis did a lot of things to make the Iranians at rest, to make them at ease, so they wouldn't be hiding in their bunkers, all those impenetrable bunkers. So what they did was, before they launched Operation Rising Line, as they called her attack, is we had the Jerusalem Post reporting. Now, there was a big Security Council meeting, Security Cabinet meeting, but the Jerusalem Post reported it was all about the Iranian hostages. Excuse me, about the, I'm so used to those days back in the 70s. Yeah, I almost got sent to Iran myself. So, no, the hostages Hamas is holding. So they had in Gaza. So the Gazan hostage negotiations, they made it all about that. That wasn't what they was talking about. They were talking about, and they were planning their attack Thursday night because they hit them in the wee hours of the morning, Friday morning. So here's what happened. And they had other ruses they put out. They had the ruse that Netanyahu was going on vacation because the son's getting married Tuesday. So they report he was going to Galilee for his son's wedding. Now they had the Mossad director David Barney, however you pronounce his name. So he and also their strategic affairs minister Ron Dermer. Two of their key guys were going to fly to Washington on Friday for for this fictitious six-round of nuclear talks in Oman. Well, that's where Ron Dermer was going to go, but David Barney was going to go to Washington, D.C. So they had all these deceptions. But both men remained in Israel. They said they were leaving. Well, neither the man left. And then there was the so-called leak strategy where, Netanyahu's office reportedly declined to deny fabricated quotes describing the dispute between the prime minister and President Donald John Trump over the potential strike. So they made it like there's this big bar, they couldn't agree. And, they had another negotiation coming up. So the Iranians were, resting pretty easy. Yeah, nothing's going to happen right now. Well, that's kind of Sun Tzu warfare. You want your enemy to relax. Then you hit them. And boy, did they. They hit them hard. And they hit them when they were in bed asleep, at 3:20 something in the morning. This is when folks even the night owls are usually going to bed, usually. And especially if you're a military commander, you got to get up in the morning. And it's usually just before you'd wake up. Some people wake up at 4 in the morning. Well, they wanted to hit them before they had their little wake-up routine, right? So, oh yeah, they did this to great effectivity. Although there were a couple that were actually awake. One was sitting on the toilet on the John. Imagine that's your last moment in life. And the other was up on his computer mining Bitcoin. Now, I don't know which was which. But here's who they took out. Here's who they hit. They hit, of course, Hossein Salami, Commander-in-Chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Talked about him a few times. In fact, there's a whole bunch of articles about him just in the last few days talking about how Iran was ready for anything to come. Iran was ready. Iran could take anything from Israel, from the United States. We're ready. Well, he wasn't too ready, was he? Well, you mess around with Israel, uh, especially if you're a leader. If you're a leader of an opposing force of Israel, your days on earth might be a little bit short, maybe a whole lot short, especially once you get a role like that. Just ask Hezbollah leader Nasrallah. Oh yeah, you got to go to his headstone to ask him. The reports are that he's just not talking much these days. Anyway, so all right, so let's look at some of the other key uh, Iranian commanders taken out. Mohammad Baghereli, the chief of the general staff of the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, some people say that he was actually Ayatollah Khamenei, excuse me, I believe the way you pronounce his name, Ayatollah Khamenei's right-hand man, not the president, but the actual right-hand man was Mohammed Baghereli, however you pronounce his name. He's gone. Amir Ali Hajjadi, the commander-in-chief of the IRGC Aerospace Forces. Ghulam al-Rashid, commander of the Qatam al-NBI Central Headquarters. So like a Pentagon commander. I don't know how that works out over there, but Ali Shamkhani, admiral and political advisor to the supreme leader of Iran, again, Ayatollah Khamenei, initially reported as critically injured, but then he was confirmed to be on the way to pushing daisies. Let's just put it that way. So, and of course, there were several Iranian nuclear scientists who were taken. Man, look, the missiles that went after these guys were targeted at their apartments. I mean, specifically right in their apartments. Some think they were following their cell phones, maybe. But let me tell you something. This is where the Mossad intelligence comes in. Oh, Mossad was doing some other things too. But this is where their intelligence come in. They knew exactly where these guys were and when they were there. Now, there was some collateral damage. There were some civilians taken out. It might have been the family members of these particular individuals. I don't know if it's in the people outside of their family, outside of their apartment. Maybe they had guests in there. I don't know. But at least that's what Iran is claiming. And that's quite possible. Anyway, so let's look at some of the scientists taken out. There were at least maybe 7 taken out. Some people said 6 earlier. So let's just let's have a look at this. So Farah, I don't know how you pronounce some of these names. Faradon Abbasi Davini, the former head of the Iran Atomic Energy Organization. He's probably still active just because he's former head of the Atomic Energy Association. Don't mean he wasn't involved. If he wasn't involved, Mossad would not have, Israel would not have went after him. Mohammed Mahdi Turanchi. Again, pardon me, my Farsi is a little bit off. Iranian, whatever you want to call it. A theoretical physicist and president of Islamic Assad University in Tehran. Yeah, university president. Let's see if I can get this guy's name. Abdelhamid Mino Shuri, I don't know, dean of the nuclear engineering facility at the Shahid Beheshti University. So, dean of nuclear engineering. So this is the brain trust. Ahmed Reza, I can pronounce that because I had a no, not Muhammad. Ahmed Reza. Reza I can pronounce because I had a teacher named that. He was also from Iran. Fagihi. He was a member of the engineering faculty at the Shahid Beheshti University and a former president of the AEIO. So, and then there's this, I don't know, we don't have his full name. Matal Bezdahe, identified only by a surname, which was a nuclear specialist. So we know there are at least 7. That's the 7 that are named. So the last one not named entirely. So, and what sites got hit in Iran? Nuclear facilities, the Natanz nuclear facility in the Isfahan province. This was the primary target. They did hit it hard. There were significant damages. The Israelis hit it hard. There were significant damages to the multi-story enrichment hall with centrifuges, electrical rooms, and other support and infrastructure. The above-ground section was reportedly destroyed, reportedly. But the underground section area, their claim was damaged. We don't know. I mean, honestly, that's conjecture. There's a lot of that stuff underground is very deep. That's conjecture. There's a Fordo nuclear site. This is the one in the deep mountain that everybody says couldn't be hit. So, although initial reports from the IAEA suggested it was not impacted, later reports indicated 2 explosions were heard at the site and the Iranian defenses shot down an Israeli drone. Oh, yeah. It's also been reported that I'm deviating for a second, but before I forget it, it's been reported that, at least by Iran, Iran says they shot down an F-35 with an Israeli pilot, a female. They said that she ejected and they have her captured. F-35? No, we don't know. There's still, it's not been confirmed. But anyway, let's get back to these nuclear facilities just before I forgot. The drone reminded me of that. Isfahan nuclear area. Israeli has claimed to have struck the nuclear research facility in Isfahan, dismantling the facility. No, this is not the times. We're producing metallic uranium infrastructure and for recovered enriched uranium and laboratories. Iran's Atomic Energy Agency reported limited damage to warehouses in Isfahan. So Iran will play it down. And there's this Kandab and Markazi province, nuclear site was reported target. A rock heavy water reactor facility was a target, and in the Qom city, there was a target location there, whatever it was. Other military related sites were just quite a few various military installations. General reports indicate widespread strikes on military bases, infrastructure across Iran. Private residences, again, as the guys we mentioned above, hitting their private residences. There were some others also not named there. Ghulam al-Rashid, Ali Shamkhani, and Amir Ali Hajadeh. So there were more than what I just reported above. There were quite a few targets that they were going after in the residences as they were sleeping or mining Bitcoin or sitting on the John. What a way to go. Anyway, the IRGC base in Shardasht, West Azerbaijan province, unspecified IRGC base was struck. Radar site in Hamadan province, the Paranashir military base, West Azerbaijan. Well, this, I don't know. I shouldn't go through this whole list. Y'all get bored. Quite a few sites were hit. So, but anyway, the president of Iran survived, and the Ayatollah Khomeini survived. But it's been said that Khomeini fled Tehran. The Khomeini went to bunker somewhere, and maybe some suggest he might actually go join his old friend al-Bashar, or whatever his name is, used to be the head of Syria, up in Russia somewhere and live in exile. The Iranians do not like the Ayatollah regime. They do not like it at all. Most people in Iran, they want to overthrow it. In fact, there's a, we've got weeks-long trucker strike right now. It's really crippling Iran to a large degree. And now the taxi drivers have joined it. So there's a strong possibility that the whole Ayatollah regime could implode or be overthrown by the people there, because they don't like the regime. They've lived by the strong arm and kept the people down, and the people are trying to worm out of it. And let's hope and pray that they get a government that gives them freedom. So it could happen. It could happen. So as we mentioned, some of the drones got through, and mainly some of the missiles. Anyway. So, yeah, as I mentioned, with the damage on the nuclear sites, the Fordo site, as I said, initial reports was nothing, and they said they were hit. I'm just kind of going back through some stuff here. But anyway, so that's kind of the upshot of what happened and kind of where it happened. Let's see, maybe I'll share a couple of other articles on here. Let's see. Yeah, because I get told that things aren't happening, it's not credible. I'm going to do another share here. Yeah, oh, it's fake news. You know, this ain't nobody said this.